Welcome back to my vlog. Today, I want to give you another glimpse into my personal life and share some behind the scenes stories from all the traveling that we do. Doug and I are so blessed that we get to travel all around the country, especially in the Midwest, sharing my story and inspiring people about the power of path and how to build resilience in their lives. Back in 2001, I decided that I wanted to be an inspirational speaker. I was still finishing up college, so I couldn't do it right away. And I remember talking to other speakers and thinking, oh my goodness, they get to travel to all these cool places. I can't wait to be able to travel. It's going to be so much fun and so glamorous. I was jealous about where they were at and what they got to do. So today, when people hear about what we do for a living, they often say, you get to travel all the time. That's so awesome. And I kind of just have to giggle because I used to think that too. But while yes, what we do is pretty awesome, the travel is always not very glamorous. We go through a lot of long car rides, late nights, early mornings, unloading and reloading the van, and small hotel rooms. So today, I thought it would be fun to share some tales from our travels and what we've learned over the years. Now, every job has its pros and cons, so I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but I thought it would be interesting for my audience to see what we sometimes face on our trips. We do drive to 99% of our events, so if you'd like to learn why we usually don't fly, I'll link a video in the caption. First is the booking of hotel rooms. Over the years, we've gotten good at finding the best accessible hotel rooms. We're actually Platinum Elite members of IHG because our hotel of choice is always a Holiday Inn Express. While it isn't always possible because sometimes they don't have one in the town where we're speaking, or it's just too far out of the way, we try to book these as often as we can. And the most important reason is accessibility. The Holiday Inn Express rooms that are wheelchair accessible work really well for my needs. Some Holiday Inn Expresses are remodeled from other hotels, but I would say 95% of the time, they're the best option for us. They usually have big bathrooms and plenty of room to maneuver my wheelchair around the room. Over the years, we've stayed in some hotels that weren't very safe, weren't very accessible, and I could barely get my wheelchair in the room. So we've learned a lot about travel and learned how to be flexible, make things work when we have to, and we've certainly had some good laughs, and sometimes we've had to be very creative. Now in these hotel rooms, sometimes there's one king bed and other times there's two queen beds. You can laugh if you want, but if there are two queen beds, that's the only option. Doug and I each take our own. We obviously prefer a king bed like we have at home, but as we enjoy being in the same bed, but when the room has two queens, we sleep separately so we can get the best sleep possible before a long day of work. Now, when it comes to my disability and a room being wheelchair accessible, it's easier to have a taller bed. The taller, the better, because that makes it easier for my caregiver and Doug to transfer me in and out of bed, and for my caregiver to do my cares in the morning and at night, so she doesn't have to bend down as far. Sometimes the beds are low, which makes things more challenging, but over the years, we found different things we can do if the bed is lower to not cause extra strain on whoever is helping with my cares. If the bed is really low, I'll do everything I can still while in my chair, so the time that they're leaning over the bed is lessened. But I think it's interesting that I've learned that accessibility means different things to different wheelchair users. I prefer a high bed, and I thought that's what it meant to be wheelchair accessible. But my friend Ashley, who's a paraplegic, taught me that she prefers to have a lower bed so that she can get in and out on her own, which is easier for her. So when somebody says wheelchair accessible room, it means different things to different people. The other reason we like to stay in Holiday Inn Expresses is because they have a really good hot breakfast in the morning. I love their biscuits and gravy. A good hot breakfast is great because it sets me up to have the energy and stamina to set myself up for the day, which can include speaking several times in one day. But when it comes to eating, when we're on the road, we used to always eat fast food or order out most of our meals. But now that both Doug and I are in the habit of making healthier eating choices, we try to do things differently. If we're staying in a Holiday Express, they provide a microwave and a fridge, which is really convenient. If we're staying at another hotel, we've learned that we should request these things. And this means that we can bring some of our own pre-made food, which saves time, money, and it's healthier for us. But once in a while, if it's been a long day of speaking, we do like to treat ourselves by ordering takeout. Now, as far as our routine when we're traveling, when we arrive at our hotel, we have a system. Doug and my caregiver check in, and then they get carts to load up all of our luggage and take them to our room. Now keep in mind that we, especially me, do not travel lightly. I have a whole separate suitcase of supplies that is very heavy. I'll link another video in the caption which shows how I pack before we leave on a trip. I did look into traveling by RV for a while since it would save on loading and unloading and hotels, but for now it doesn't make sense for us. So while Doug is unloading everything from the van and bringing it up to the hotel room, which is definitely a workout, my caregiver unpacks and sets up the room to be ready for our evening and morning routines. And then after we set up the room and eat dinner, we like to watch some TV for an hour or two, which is something we rarely do at home. We watch The Office, Doug's favorite, Family Feud, something on the Game Show Network, or once in a while a movie that we've already seen. Then we always make sure we can get 8 hours of sleep. So if we have to get up early, we just count backward from when we have to wake up to make sure that we can get the sleep that we need. Now, when it comes to driving, this is an area that has its own challenges. Doug does all the driving to our events, which means some long days, rush hour traffic, encountering bad and rude drivers, and finding the best routes. He is really a trooper when it comes to this because he not only handles all the driving and travel logistics, but he also puts up with a lot of frustrations. For example, why do they set up construction barrels on both sides of the road for miles when there's no construction going on? So annoying. Now maybe there's someone watching this video who works in road construction and can explain this to us. Doug also gets annoyed at semis, especially when they move into the left lane to pass another semi or vehicle and then go barely over the speed limit of the other vehicle, so it takes them forever to pass. And then they stay in that lane even after they pass the other vehicle. Now, I know semis can't go above certain speeds because they do have restrictions, but it does really drive us crazy when we can't pass and when people stay in the left lane. Side note, side rant. Just so you know, in every state, it is illegal to drive in the left lane unless you are passing. There are certain states that have signs that say, do not impede the left lane, and I love that. I wish we had that in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So again, it's illegal to stay in the passing lane. You need to get over. Okay, rant over. I'm getting heated just thinking about it. Now, a funny thing is that I've had a few people ask me when I'm in the van if I'm uncomfortable sitting in a vehicle for so many hours. But you have to remember that I'd be sitting in my wheelchair all day anyways. So I am not uncomfortable. And the van is set up with the front passenger seat removed. So there's a bolt underneath my wheelchair that I just line up in the van and my wheelchair locks in. No one has to strap in my wheelchair. They just have to help me with my seatbelt. I can just lock my wheelchair in place and away we go. Now, when I was a kid, I hated riding in cars because I always got car sick. And my mom got car sick too, so she had dibs on the front seat. But now I always get the front seat. And I only tend to get car sick now when we're in rush hour traffic or going through a town where it's a lot of stopping and starting. But in the end, even though travel isn't as exciting or glamorous as some would seem to think, we do what we do because we want to make an impact. We go through the not so glamorous parts because we want to share my message and help people improve their mental and emotional health. Getting those hugs, hearing those stories, seeing people react to my message, along with receiving messages on social media of people who have been touched and helped, makes it all worth it. Our work is so rewarding, and we are so happy that we get to do it. So thanks for tuning in, and be sure to leave me a comment below. What is your favorite or least favorite parts of traveling? And do you have any tips that you've learned that might help us? We're always open for suggestions. Thanks so much. See you next time.